Hello, this is Babalamu from University of Gondar, Faculty of Informatics. And then this is our sub-tutorial which talks about the Windows Server configuration and installation. In the previous tutorial, we just successfully installed Windows Server 2012 operating system. And now, this tutorial will focus on the prerequisites that we are going to do, or the configuration that we are going to do before we install roles on the server. That, as we discussed previously, if you install Windows Server 2012 without any role, the functionality is equivalent to Windows 10 or Windows 7. What makes Windows Server different from Windows 10 or 7 or 8 is the role that you are going to install on the server. So basically this role will add functionality to the server. So before we install the role on the server, we have to do some kind of initial configuration. That initial configuration is a prerequisite to install any of the server role. So let's log in. So when we log into the server, as usual, the server manager will appear on the screen. So that's where we are going to configure this initial or post-installation configuration. So this is the server manager. So we have to wait until the server manager loads properly. And then for the server manager, we can have a look at the status of the server, the configuration, the installed roles, the problem, and so on and so forth. So this is the server manager. So later on the class, we will see how we can add roles in the future by clicking on this option. But for this tutorial, we'll focus on how we can do this post-installation configuration. So usually, post-installation configuration are the configuration that we should do before we install any of the role. For example, we have to give a proper computer name. We have to give static IP address for our server. We have to take care of this firewall option and then the Windows update and so on and so forth. So let's do it. So to do this post-installation configuration, we can click on configure this local server in here, or you can click on this one local server. So let's click on configure this local server so that it will load the local server. So basically, for example, here we have a computer name which is meaningless for us. So usually we have to give a proper and meaningful computer name for our server. So to do that, we will click on the existing computer name so that a new dialog will appear. So in this dialog, we will click on change so that it will display the existing computer name. So for example, I can do it like this, Abebe server, or for example, if I'm going to configure server for computer science department, say cd server is good. So we'll click on OK, but when we click on OK, the server will display a dialog box to restart the server, because this is a major change. Usually when we do some major change on the server will restart the computer because it needs to update the effect. So it's recommended to restart the server, but we can restart later by configuring all the rest of the post-installation configuration. We'll click on OK, close. In this case, we will click on restart later. So it's not changed yet because it needs to restart the server. So later we will restart the server once we configure the rest of the configuration. So the other important point is the remote desktop. So basically, remote desktop should be, by default, is disabled. It should be enabled by default. By default, it is disabled, but you have to make sure that you should enable the remote desktop so that you can remotely call, you can remotely access your server from any machine. Okay, for example, if you click on remote desktop connection like this, Okay, if you enable the remote desktop on your server, you can directly access the server from any client machine by typing the IP address of 192.168.1.1. By doing that, you can directly access from your client machine, and then you can configure whatever you want in your server. So it's enabled, it's good. The other important point is internet or the IP address. So usually as a server, the server should have static IP address. So to do that, we have to click on this IP address version. And then the other important point is IP6. IP6 is not, we are not going to configure IP6. So it's better to disable it for the sake of the configuration. So we'll click on this one so that the internet controller will appear. We will double click on it. So we'll click on property. So in this dialog box, IP6 is enabled. We will uncheck the box so that it will be disabled by itself. And then the internet IP4, we'll click on it, and then we'll click on property to assign the static IP address for the server. So by default, it's dynamic, obtain IP address from the DHCP server, but we don't have the DHCP server yet because we are going to configure this server as the DHCP. So we have to make sure that we give static IP address. So we are going to give class C static IP address 192.168.1.1, and then the default the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. The default gateway is just a computer that the client is going to access internet. So this is our only server, so we are going to use this server as a default gateway. DNS, and then later on the class, maybe next week, we are going to see how we can configure DNS role in this server. So this is our DNS server as well, so we have to assign this IP address as a DNS server. Okay, and then we'll close it. So it's not applied yet because we need to restart the server. Okay, so the other important point is updates. So usually it's recommended to make the updates enabled because this is how we are going to get update or patch from the Microsoft. But it's you have to make sure that you have a licensed operating system in your computer before you enable the update, because Microsoft will install the update if you have a licensed operating system. If not, it will not install the update, and instead it will send a message to activate your operating system. So it's recommended to make it on, to make it enabled, but you have to make sure that you have a licensed operating system. And then the other one is about this time zone. Usually you have to properly adjust the time and the date of the server. That should be equivalent to the client, because if you have a different date on your server and client, there will be a problem on communication between the server and the client. So down here it will tell you the specification of your hard disk, memory, processor, and the type of operating system that you have. So this is all about the post-installation configuration. The very important post-installation configuration is you have to make sure that you change the name. You have to make sure that you assign the static IP address. You have to make sure that you enable the remote desktop, and then depending on the license you can enable or disable the update. Okay, so to make it effective, to apply this change, we need to restart the server. Okay, just to restart the server, we will move the mouse to the corner of the server. Okay, like this, and then we will restart it. But usually, whenever you shut down or restart your computer, you have to give the reason for shutdown or for restart purpose. So obviously the reason is planned reason for reconfiguration of the operating system, and then we'll continue. So we'll continue after the restart. Okay, our computer restarted successfully. So let's log in and see the change that we made previously. Now, as usual, the server manager will appear, so we can have a look at the changes. If there is any problem, we will do it again. If not, we will see the change. Okay, now the server manager is loading. So we'll click on the configure local server to see the effect. Okay, so yes, the server name is already changed. CSD-server, fine. Remote desktop is enabled. We just assign static IP address for IP4, and then IP6 is disabled. That's all. We are good to go. So hereafter, we can install roles and features because we are ready to install this roles and features because we just successfully configure the local the post installation configuration. So in the next tutorial, we will see how we can install and configure roles and features. Thank you.